I had gestational diabetes. I'm over it now. I had prodromal labor. I missed my chance to give birth. Now I'm never gonna have the baby. The epidural runs out. Are you giving it your all? I'm like,
excuse me?
My pregnancy was way better than expected, pleasantly surprised. So, suddenly, I'm having a natural birth. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. That's The Office. I'm back. My name is Lisa Cimorelli, and I'm going to tell the story of my birth today. Just kidding, not my birth experience. I'm feeling good. Pretty good about coming back. It's a little much being a new mom and trying to work and balance it all, so I'm not going to be like, no, didn't skip a beat. Yeah, there's many beats that have been missed completely. But I'm glad to be back, excited to figure this out, how it's going to work, and find my groove. Oh, the baby. I'm going to start by giving you a little context, which was I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes in my 3rd trimester, which is temporary diabetes that you get when you're pregnant. It's caused by your placenta, and it's heavily related to your genetics. I thought that I was eating too much sugar, which people are like, if you eat too much sugar, you're gonna get diabetes. No, it's mostly your placenta, because plenty of people eat tons of sugar and they don't get it. Anyway, I had gestational diabetes. I'm over it now. But that really played a role in a lot of this. Anyway, I had to change my diet. I had to really not eat so many carbs, which was all I was eating the entire pregnancy. So that was fun. That was the first challenge. I was really upset when I found out. I was like, oh my gosh, I ruined it. My body's not a safe home for my baby. Turns out that was not accurate either. So don't worry if you have gestational diabetes. Your body is a safe place. Most likely, I don't know, I'm not gonna promise you that. So that was in May. In June, I had prodromal labor, another term, which means you went into labor early, but it was a false start. June 16th, I went into prodromal labor, and before that point, I felt really normal, and it was I was 35, 36 weeks, oh yeah, working, whatever. And then I started having really intense contractions. I was really tired, and I was oh my gosh, I'm going into labor. But the baby was measuring ahead and really big and really healthy, so I was cool. After that point, I was completely exhausted. An immediate switch flipped. I don't know why. I was completely worn out. I stopped working immediately. I barely left my house. I was sleeping all the time. I was so tired and drained. And after that, every single day and every week, everyone's like, oh, did you have the baby yet? Did you have the baby yet? And I was like, no, any day now, even though I was 36 weeks. Technically, I had a month left, but I was like, oh, coming soon, anytime, any minute, because I thought it was gonna start up again. And everyone was asking me and then people would say
gosh, when is this baby coming out?
And I was 37 weeks. And I was I don't know. But actually, I still had more time. Then I felt like I was late the entire last month. And I was I missed my chance to give birth. Now I'm never going to have the baby. It was this huge psychological game. It was really tough. That was June 16th. The week of July 12th. After what feels like an eternity. At this point, I have 2 doctor's appointments every week for 2 months. So I'm always at the doctor, and they're doing all these ultrasounds every single week and tracking her, because when you have diabetes, gestational diabetes, you have to have a high risk doctor look at you too and make sure that everything's good with the baby, because at any time something could go wrong. Or they're really tracking the growth for me, how big she's getting, because gestational diabetes babies grow a lot quickly, typically, because their blood sugar is really high, so they're just constantly eating, basically. That's one way to explain it. So I have 2 appointments a week. Every single time they're wow, she looks great, passing with flying colors, she's doing her practice breathing, she's got tons of fluid, she's huge, she looks great, so healthy. So every time I'm just woohoo, great. And then the week of July 12th, I go in, and at this point I think I'm 39 weeks, and they're it took a long time to see her doing her practice breathing, but maybe she's just sleeping. It looks like she has slightly less fluid than normal. And then my blood sugar started getting really out of whack. The medication that I was taking couldn't really keep up, and it'd be super low and then super high. And there was a few things that were looking maybe my placenta was starting to give out a little bit or something. There's just some things that are looking wrong. And at this point, the baby is measuring as 9 pounds. Now, people tell you about ultrasounds, oh, they're not accurate. My baby was measuring as 6 pounds and came out 10 pounds. Or my baby was measuring at 10 pounds and came out at 6 pounds. They are not always accurate. But when you're getting an ultrasound, every single week. It turns out it is spot on. Spoiler alert. So they're like, the baby's measuring is 9 pounds, really good muscle tone, blah, 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 like really big, really long. We don't want to leave her in there too much longer because she may be like too big for you or whatever. And people have mixed feelings about that, but the way my doctor advised me was like, if this was like your second baby and you'd already given birth to a huge baby, then I would say go for it, but we want to be cautious because we don't know what's going to happen because this is your first baby. And I was like, amen, sister. So the week of July 12th, we did a membrane sweep, which is just, I'm not going to say what that is, but it helps you induce labor sometimes if you're like ready to go. So we did that, and I like made some progress, but didn't induce labor, but it helped me farther along. That was on Monday. Thursday, we did it again. Not really any changes. And on Thursday, on Monday, I'm like jumping around trying to remember everything. So much information. On Monday, we decide I'm going to be induced at the end of the week. So I said by the end of the week I don't go into labor, then we will just induce me on Friday. So I'll give myself like 5 more days. And if I haven't gone by then, let's just do it. Let's just get this baby out. Because I'd rather act like she's huge and not gonna work out and then be wrong than act like she's not huge and everything's gonna be great and then be wrong about that. You know what I mean? Abundance of caution. So July 16th, Friday, rolls around. 9 in the morning, we get there, check in. It's me, my husband, his mother-in-law. We're so excited, really ready to be done with this. Feels like it's been 9 years of carrying this child and she's just taking up all the space in my body. So get in, check in, go to my little labor and delivery room. I actually did end up getting to be in like the birthing center part of the hospital, which was great because I didn't think that I would. So it was like really spacious and like beautiful. And they come in, they do my IV, which was actually one of the worst like painful parts for me. It was really painful. I was like, and I decide that I'm gonna try to like labor naturally as long as possible for some reason, even though in the last week of pregnancy, like, you know, okay, leading up to this, I had a doula. I was like, I want to do a natural. I think it sounds great. But then I found out like I'm gonna have to be on an IV no matter what because of my diabetes. They have to put me on insulin and like monitor my blood sugar. So I wasn't really a candidate for like a super natural free roaming birth. Like I was gonna have to be hooked up to like wires no matter what. So that kind of went out the window. And then the last week I was like, you know what? I'm out. I changed my mind. I want the epidural. And I felt really misled by actually everyone ever, just because I'd never heard a story of what happened to me. So I felt really cheated. First of all, you have the natural community on the internet, like you can get through the pain. It's not that bad or whatever. Push through. Then you have other people in your ear saying, just get the epidural. Don't be a pain warrior. It's so much easier. And you hear people's stories where they're like, I was going through, it was really hard. Once I got the epidural, everything was great. And it was so easy after that. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna have this huge baby. I don't know what to expect. Yeah, just get the epidural because everything will be great after that. And I've heard stories of people that are like, the epidural didn't work on me at all, which also didn't happen to me. So just putting this out there because if this happens to anyone else, you won't be blindsided like I was. Okay, so I get the epidural and I'm like, yeah, let's just go for it. It's been like 7 hours. The contractions weren't like that bad. Like I could handle them, but I wasn't progressing and I wanted to progress, but I didn't want to like fly through it in crazy amounts of pain. So I'm like, get the epidural, break my water, do whatever you gotta do. Let's just get the baby out. So I get the epidural. It's great. Can't feel a thing. Woohoo! There's like a screen that shows when you're having a contraction. And I'm like, wait, really? I'm having contractions? I can't tell. Great. Like everyone said in the beginning. So once she breaks my water after like 8 hours at this point of laboring, they've been checking me and I wasn't progressing. I went from like a 4 centimeters dilated to like 7 in like 15 minutes. It was so fast. It was like, whoa, okay, now we're really making progress. And I thought that things are happening every 2 hours that I will say, but I realized I have no concept of time because what I'm about to say happens between 8 or 9 p.m. and 4 o'clock the next day. I thought it was like 5 hours, but it was way longer than that. So I don't really know the intervals that things are happening, but I know sometime at like 2 or 3 in the morning, the epidural runs out. It's like a bag of fluid that goes into an IV and it runs out. So suddenly I'm having a natural birth. I am in natural labor with no pain medication. Once it runs out, you feel everything. So I'm like, they have this button you can press to like give yourself a little more of a dose if you're like in pain. So I click the button or whatever, and like nothing's happening. And all of a sudden I'm like having these really intense contractions, and I'm really dilated. I'm like, and I'm like stuck in the bed because I have like, catheter and IVs and all this stuff. You can't like get out and walk around. All of a sudden, I'm feeling the urge to like walk around and move. Like, I don't want to be in this position. I'm so uncomfortable, but I can't do anything about it because I am stuck in a hospital bed. So my doula actually had to leave, and a different doula came and like subbed in, but she was great. She kind of made me feel like I had a football coach with me. She's like, yeah! So she's there and like, oh my gosh, we'll get the nurse, we'll get more. But for some reason, the anesthesiologist who does that, not just anyone can give you the fluid or whatever. The anesthesiologist is, I don't know, in Timbuktu and doesn't come to my room for like 30 minutes at least, and which feels like a lifetime when you are in that much pain. Let me just say, it feels like a watermelon is about to come out of my butt. That is the sensation, okay? And I'm like, guys, I really think I'm gonna go number two. I'm gonna go number two. Like, I can't control it. Oh my gosh, I wasn't. But that is the sensation. Like, you're just about to have the most massive pump of your life, okay? In the most painful way possible. It is horrifying. And this from like being medicated, not really feeling anything, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy crap. I can remember that sensation so vividly. Oh, okay. The freaking anesthesiologist finally gets there after like 30 minutes of absolute like moaning in pain, and then refills the thing, and it takes 30 more minutes to kick in. So for an hour, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I think I was making the noise really like, oh, like, because people say if you like scream, it makes you tense up and it makes the pain worse. So I'm trying all this stuff. I'm like breathing and like doing this low thing. It's like kind of helping, but I'm still just absolutely miserable. And you know what the worst part is? Actually psychologically feeling powerless. Like, I really want relief from this. I was told that I will have relief. I was told that like once you get this, everything's great, and then I didn't get that. So it's like it's like panicking like a child without their security blanket. Oof. My husband actually did a voice recording of me like doing the because he thought it was like kind of funny, and like not funny that I'm in pain, but it was like a funny sound, and like, oh, maybe she'll want to hear this later and like remember this. No, he played it for me like 2 weeks later, and I immediately burst into tears, and I was like, turn off. It was like trauma, like war trauma. It was really like scary to hear that again, because I think it was actually the worst moment of my life. That exact time that he recorded, I was like, so that was not fun. Then this happens again, like I think it happens 2 or 3 times that my epidural runs out and I'm in like horrifying pain. And it's like, oh my gosh, why isn't someone like staying on top of this and like helping me? Finally, a new anesthesiologist comes in. They like switch shifts or whatever, and he's like really nice and like, so sorry, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why someone hasn't been like helping you. I'm gonna add some narcotics for you. And when we talked about this, my doula, like leading up to it, I was like, oh yeah, I don't want any narcotics. Like, I don't want the epidural. They're kicking the baby system, whatever. And then he's like, we're gonna add some narcotics. I was like, yes, thank you. I think he said he added fentanyl to my IV, which is like really, really powerful. But whatever it was amazing, and I didn't give a rip, and my baby was fine, so it was great. But he added some narcotics, and then after that I was fine. Oh, okay. So sorry, right before that happened, when I was in horrible pain, they were like, while this is all happening in natural labor, they're like, okay, we need to help you progress. Like you're stalling out at like an 8. You're not like getting to that final stage where you could actually push. So my wonderful sub doula that subbed in was like, oh, let's put this peanut ball, this weird shaped exercise ball between your knees and like lay you on your side and like twist your hips, and it'll help you dilate. And she was right. Like I went to a 10 after like 30 minutes. She's like, just try to take a nap. And I was like, I am not falling asleep with a watermelon in my butt. Like I can't. But I was just laying there in horrible pain. Then they checked me again and I was ready to push. But then I was like, I'm not pushing until the epidural comes back. So that's what happened. The guy came back, gave me the fentanyl. Then we were ready to push. So with all this fluid in me, it's been like 28 hours at this point. I can't move my legs, but they're like, you have to put your legs up on these things and get ready to push. So my husband lifts one leg and then my doula lifts the other. And they're like standing on either side of the table, like holding me like this, like helping me, because you're supposed to do that yourself and I couldn't. They're like, okay, ready to push. Baby looks great. They're like monitoring her heart rate through like my belly the whole time, and she's doing great. So they're like, okay, cool. Let's do this. Let's push. The baby's doing great. You're doing great, even though I'm literally exhausted. Oh, I woke up at 5 a.m. that morning and had no sleep the day before. So that really helped too. I was running on 5 hours of sleep a day before that. So I'm ready to push, and like they tell me how to do it, like tuck your chin to your chest, like take a deep breath and then hold your breath and just squeeze like you're going to the bathroom, okay? That's how you give birth, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm doing it and I'm like, and they're like, okay, great. You know, I can feel the head coming down. I'm like so bitter about this. Now I'm like, I can feel the head coming down. And then, you know, oh, she's moving slowly, but she's getting there. Okay, just keep pushing. And then like, you know, can you give it more? Are you giving it your all? I'm like,
excuse me?
But I don't have any energy or strength, but I'm like really trying. So this goes on for an hour, which really flew by when you are exerting that much effort. Actually, the pushing part felt like 15 minutes, but apparently it was over an hour. And then things take a turn. Every time you have a contraction, the baby's heart rate drops and then like comes back up because she's being like squished. So that's normal. But suddenly her heart rate starts to recover more slowly each contraction, and she's not looking so hot anymore. So I'm like pushing and pushing for an hour at this point, and then I'm like, is it working? Am I doing anything? And she's like, she is moving, but like millimeters at a time. And this is like so demoralizing that I feel like I'm giving the performance of a lifetime and I'm not getting anywhere. So she tells me like, okay, the baby is starting to like, she looks fine, but she's starting to, the opposite of regress, or whatever you want to say. So I would say we need to get this baby out within the hour, and you have maybe 15 to 30 minutes left of pushing. If you can push this baby out in less than 30 minutes, then we're done and we're great. But if you don't, we're gonna have to do a C-section. The worst words I thought I'd ever heard. I was like, oh my gosh, no. And then I was like, had the fire in me, and I was like, I think of like a swimming race when I was growing up where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so close to the wall. All right, give it my all. And you like speed to the end. I thought that's what I was doing. So they're like, okay, we got 15 minutes. Ready? Give it your all. I'm like, oh, I'm motivated. I'm getting this baby out. I am not having a C-section. Famous last words. So I'm like, I'm not screaming, but I start to like yell at this point, like yelling and pushing. And they're like, okay, give it again. Not like giving any feedback. They're just like encouraging me. And I'm like, like pushing and pushing. And it's like, you have to hold your breath each time. So then I'm like, I'm like breathing and like, go. I'm like, hold on. I'm like, push, whatever. 15 minutes. I'm like, is it working? Is it working? She's like, nope, C-section time. And I was like, not like that, but that's how it felt. She's like, all right, we have to do a C-section. I was like, I was a giant balloon that deflated and withered in that moment. I was actually like really, really upset, but I had no sleep the night before, no sleep that night. I think I took a short nap, but I was so exhausted, so demoralized, and just like done. And of course, I want to do what's best for the baby. What happened was, first of all, she was really big and she had a big head that's getting stuck under one of my bones, and it just wasn't working. She had like a little knot on her head where she's coming out, and when I saw how small it was, like the amount that was in the birth canal, I was like, oh, that was never going to work. Cool. That was like, she barely even made it in there. So I want to do what's best for the baby, and I was just like, okay, fine, whatever. Give me the dang C-section. I'm so done at this point. Just do it. Fine. But also I was like, no, I don't want to do this. Like in my head, they're like, give me the papers to sign. And I'm like, oh, signing my life away. And then they like, get rid of my epidural because it's like an IV in your back or whatever. And like, they start like wheeling me out. And when they're wheeling me into the other room is when I really, like down the hall to the operating room was when I was like the most in touch with my emotions, where I stopped repressing so much. And I was like, wait, I didn't want to do this. This was not my plan. I didn't want to do this. I was like really upset. And then they're like, we're like waiting outside the doors, and I was like, okay, It's stupid to start crying and freaking out right now because this is happening. Let's just get through it and process later. But actually, once I got in there, I had a really nice man do my painkillers, whatever. It's called like a spinal block. It's just a quick injection in your back. Way better than the epidural. They just give you a shot. And then I could not feel anything. Oh, he was so nice too. He was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Just this old man, really felt like a nice dad or something, I don't know. And then they had to transfer me from my main bed onto like the operating table, which sounds so terrifying, but it's really not. It took like 6 people to lift my beached whale body. I literally couldn't move. I felt truly like a beached whale. First of all, I was like 200 pounds at this point. And they like each person like grabbing a limb in my torso, and they're like, like I just like flopped onto the table. And then I remember these like nurses and the people, they're like something something 1, something something 2, something something 3, something something 4, something something 1, something something 2. They're naming all these like tools and like counting them out and like making sure they have everything. And I was just like, whatever, I give up. And then they gave Chad some scrubs, and then my husband, and then they're like, all right, we're ready for you. And they put up this like big curtain, so I have no clue what's happening. I don't want to know. He apparently saw some things that like traumatized him. I didn't see anything. Don't know, don't care. It was great. I literally couldn't tell that it started or stopped. I was that completely numb. Wonderful. And I was like, well, you know what? I don't have to do anything anymore. And they have these weird like things off the table where you put your arms. So I'm just laying there. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then they're like, there she is. Oh my gosh. I'm like, could have fooled me. Had no clue that she was in or out. Can't tell. The sad thing was I was so demoralized from my whole labor experience of like going through all that pain and like being completely depleted and exhausted that I couldn't be like excited to meet her. I was just more ready to be done. I was not excited or anything. I just had nothing at all left in me. So they bring her over and like put her next to me. I'm just like, oh, cute. But like, that's all I could feel. And then all I cared about was like, is she crying? Like, is she breathing? I remember, but I didn't have that much energy. I remember laying there going like, is she crying? And they're like, not yet. But it's only been like 5 seconds at that point. And they like rushed her over to the table and like suctioned her lungs, because they have to do that with a C-section, you know, get all the fluid out, and, you know, patting her or whatever. And then I hear the cutest little noise. She goes, ah, like this little whimper. She's not a screamer. She doesn't scream. She doesn't cry. Just this, ah, ah, these little noises. I'm like, oh, so cute. And then my husband has been singing, the sun will come out tomorrow, to her, like in my womb the last month since the prodromal labor, like joking, like, you'll be here tomorrow. No, she wasn't. But he always sang that to my belly at night, and he went over to the table where she was, and she stopped and was like looking around for the voice, like she recognized his voice in that song, and it was so cute. That was like really special because I didn't have energy to like feel excited or anything, but then knowing that she already was like connecting to someone, and then they're like, do you want to hold her? I was like, no, I can't move my arms, I have no energy. I was like, Chad, can you hold her? And he took the baby and was like holding her and singing to her, and I was just like, okay, I can relax. Like, she's with her parent, he's showering her with love, he's fully awake and like excited and connecting with her, everything's great. And then apparently they're stitching me up. Had no clue, could have fooled me. So they're stitching me up, finishing up, whatever. I'm so done. I'm still not like excited or whatever. I'm just really glad to be done. I feel like my anger and emotions like peaked as I was entering the C-section room, and then slowly started to come down. And then they put her between my legs on the table and wheeled us upstairs because no one can like carry her when we're like walking. I don't know why, but it was really cute. She was laying there silently. I was like, oh, she's so cute. Then we go up to the recovery room, and her blood sugar is kind of low, which happens actually with regular babies too, whose moms don't have gestational diabetes. I don't know what you call that, but her blood sugar was like really low. They want it to be like 70 and it was like 40, so they gave her a bottle, chugged it like a champ. She hadn't eaten in like 2 hours, but I was like, when did 2 hours happen? That felt like 15 minutes. They gave her a bottle, fed her, whatever, and that was the first time that actually, I think it had been like an hour since the surgery, and I started to like come to. I still could not feel my toes. They're like, try to move your feet. And I was like, I'm trying. Nothing's happening. I like completely lost connection, but it was fine. I got to hold her for the first time, like up in the other room. And I was like, oh, she's so cute. And then I remember that night in our actual room, I took her out of her little bassinet and I held her from like 2 to 6 in the morning. And again, that time flew by as well. 4 hours. I was like, oh, like I was so enamored with her. It was like, 9 hours later or whatever, but then I really bonded with her and connected with her. So luckily, pretty quickly after I came around and was like really excited and like gushing with love, everyone's like, as soon as you see that baby, you're gonna forget everything you went through. No, but 9 hours later, you might. That's kind of where my story ends, I feel like. I definitely thought I was gonna cry while filming this, but I didn't, because I cried this morning when I was writing it out. Good stuff. But it was like really, really traumatic, actually. The whole labor process. And this is the thing. Getting a C-section was my worst fear, and I really wanted to like have a vaginal birth. The best thing in the world. Never have a C-section. But actually, my C-section was the best part, and the whole labor part was the worst part. So it's like, I don't know if I wish that I could have gotten the baby out, or if I just wish that I never had the induction, I just got a C-section. But I definitely wouldn't have been able to emotionally without going through all that first. Now I would, but then I just made the best decision I could in the moment. So my friend recently told me like, wow, your recovery's going so well and you're really like changing my mind about this. Like if I had to have one in the future, I wouldn't be so scared. And I was like, yes, don't worry. I feel like it has the like Grim Reaper reputation because there are a lot of really bad experiences out there for sure with all kinds of birth and anything. Getting a C-section was not that bad and the recovery was intense, but it went quickly for me. I don't know how it goes for everyone, but it really wasn't that bad. So I don't actually want to be one of those people that says it won't be that bad, because guess what, it might. Because that's what happens sometimes, and that's how I felt. Everyone's like, oh, just do this or do that and it'll be great. I just saw a whole page of this lady say, you can have a pain-free birth. It's like, shut up. Shut up. Maybe some people have that, but I don't think you should tell people guaranteed or your money back, because if so, I want my money back. I think it's dangerous to like promise that to people because you really don't know. You don't know what's gonna happen. You can't also you also can't tell people, get the epidural and then you'll never feel any pain. It'll be so great. I'm really, really bitter still about so many aspects of this, but I'm just gonna tell you, I have no idea what's gonna happen with your birth, and neither do you. That's what I wish people would have told me, but you know what? The thing I really want to say is I feel like pregnancy, people talk about it a lot. Oh, it's so tough, blah, blah, blah. Was totally prepared for that, and I was pleasantly surprised by my pregnancy. It wasn't that bad. Recovery. Everyone talks about recovery, and I was pleasantly surprised by that. It wasn't too bad. Birth. I actually feel like people don't talk about it that much. At least not, there's like Instagram pages that are like dedicated to it, but if you aren't seeking it out, you're not gonna hear it that much. At least for me, I felt shockingly blindsided by the birth experience. I was like, holy crap, what just happened? Like the before and after birth, I got it, I was ready, I'd heard all the stuff, like I pretty much knew what to expect. The birth experience felt like I was on a walk and suddenly an atom bomb went off, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like whoa. I was like literally shocked for like several days after of just like literally sitting down to pee after having a catheter. Not to be gross, but like that, it took me like 10 minutes. It was so painful and so difficult. No one ever mentioned that. They're just like, the epidural will be great. Great for you. And maybe it's true. Maybe all these people really did just have their baby and then forget everything. I don't know, but I did not, okay? But I just want you to know that birth is hard, okay? And maybe people really say that, or maybe people say that so much that you kind of brush it off and don't take it seriously. But let me say, take it seriously. It's really challenging. It doesn't mean you can't do it. Doesn't mean it's impossible. Doesn't mean you won't get through it. Because already I feel like I definitely want to have another kid. I don't want to like end the procreation of the earth by telling everyone it's so bad you can't do it. But I just want people to feel prepared. It's gonna be extremely challenging. I don't know a way to get through it that won't be extremely challenging. Because even if you have a C-section and you like plan to go in, your recovery will be really challenging. Like your abs are just so sore. It's a lot of pain. Oh my gosh. And then from all the freaking painkillers, I didn't know okay? I don't think this is widely publicized enough that painkillers make you constipated. Apparently, a lot of people know this, but I didn't know this, so I'm gonna put it out there. PSA, a week after giving birth, I went into labor again with a giant turd. It was horrifying. Ariel was in this room when I was on the toilet screaming in pain for 10 minutes. And by the way, that was the third time that day I was trying to go to the bathroom because it wasn't coming out. And I came in here wrapped in a towel. I was like, oh, I didn't know you were still here. Hi. Oh my gosh. I was like, Chad, I need to go to the hospital. No, I was like, I'm in so much pain. It was like, it was just as bad as when the watermelon felt like it was coming out of my butt, okay? Same feeling. So men, if you've ever been extremely constipated and had that happen where you literally can't get it out, I will say you are close to knowing what it's like to give birth. You actually are close, because it is that bad. It was so really bad. I had to go to the hospital and get an enema at 2 a.m. And then I told my nurse, I was like, you are an amazing person. You deserve an award. She's like, I just gave you an enema. I was like, what you do changes lives. Anyway, real takeaway from this video is bring fiber to the hospital. They give you stool softeners, and guess what? They don't work on everyone. They don't work. And they pump you full of food. Meals, and you can't go. But they just don't care. They keep feeding you. They're really setting me up for failure in that way. So I'll just end the video right there. Bye. Just kidding. Look, I really don't have some peppy motivational speech for you. I'm still processing all of this, okay? I do want to have kids again. I'm very much open to having another C-section now. Might just skip straight to that next time. We'll see. We'll see where I'm at. I'm not gonna make any kind of commitment or promises because I really don't know. Maybe I'll have a natural tub birth at home next time. I'm just kidding, I don't see that happening, but I don't know. With me, you never know. I really flip-flop. But go watch some positive birth experiences after this if you want to know the full range of what's possible. Okay, I will say, besides birth, my pregnancy was way better than expected, pleasantly surprised. My baby is way better than expected, pleasantly surprised. She's a great sleeper. She slept 6 hours straight the other night. It was awesome. She's a great eater. She's growing like a little weed. She's only 7 weeks old, but she's wearing 6-month clothing. Savage. She's super cute, not a big crier. She's just great. So definitely made my double labor worth it. Honestly, the constipation was just as bad. It was just as traumatizing, but also was really joyful at the end. But you know, she made it all worth it. She's great. I definitely want more. I want her to have siblings. I really want a little boy, but I also be happy with having all girls. It really doesn't matter to me. I just want a couple more kids and I'll be happy. Just kidding, I'm already happy. But that's my birth story. Did you expect anything else from me? Did you? Did you hear me say that? That's Miranda Cosgrove. All right, bye guys. Wait, is everything okay? I feel like people are like communicating. Oh, Lily's not eating the cord.
No, sorry.
Thanks for watching. We love Simple. It's been a long time. Mid-June to be exact. It is now September. Wow, it's been a while. Okay.
I would shave my head. I love wearing makeup.
Woo!
I think it's
Whoa! I did not guess that. Think you know our voices? Time to put your ears to the test.